Macallan 12 Sherry Oak, new versus old. Stay tuned for the Whiskey Whistle. What up, my whiskey people? Mark here from Whiskey Whistle on YouTube, sharing a little whiskey awesomeness from Winnipeg, the center of North America, bringing you a 2-up of Macallan 12 Sherry. Yes, the 12 Sherry. Not the double cask, not the triple cask, but the 12 Sherry. We have the brand new one, which looks like this. And it's got a tamper-proof cork, which I think is great. It is a little bit garish, however, versus the former Macallan 12 Sherry Oak. Now, let's see how these compare and how they differ. We'll check out the color, the legs, the nose, the palate, the finish, with and without water, and then give each of them a Whiskey Whistle Whiskey Score. Now make sure you're subscribed to Whiskey Whistle. Hit that button right over here and hit the bell, ding ding, so you'll be notified of the future Whiskey Whistles. And check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Whiskey Whistle. Join the Whiskey Whistle crew, all right? Beautiful, let's get these poured. First we'll pour the old Mac 12. Now I have a long history with this bottle. I think I purchased in total 3, maybe 4 of these bottles while I lived in South Korea. And oftentimes I bought it in a unique gift set that came with a glass, a Macallan branded Glencairn glass, and also a miniature of the 12. So it was perfect. And I think it was about $100 US. A little bit expensive over there. Let's get some of this poured. Okay, we'll pour a nice healthy amount. I think that's 1.5 ounces. Whoops. Okay, so that is the old and now the new. Don't forget to invert your bottles to make sure your cork is moist if they've been sitting on your shelf for a long time. This one has been. Okay, let's get this poured. We'll go for about the same amount. Close enough. Now, have you tried Mac 12 old and new? What do you think? Do you like the old? Do you like the new? Please leave a comment. Have you only tried the new version and you love it? Make sure you look for old ones too, okay? All right, let me just move that aside. Go like this, and we'll go like that. Okay, so there's our new versus old. Move those over. And let's check the color out of these two Mac 12s. Okay. What do we see there for color? The first thing I notice is that the old is just a little bit darker than the new. There is a good reason for that, however. Now, it should be noted that Macallan is natural in color. Also, these are both the American versions in 750 ml bottles, and they're bottled at 43%. Versus most of Europe, I believe you get the 40% version. So if possible, get your uncle to bring you a bottle of Mac 12 43%, okay? But anyway, so same proof. And yeah, definitely a little bit darker. Let me just turn that towards myself. Just a shade, like just a slight shade off, a little bit darker. And you may know where I'm going with this now, but let's check the legs out. Let's see the legs of both of these side by side if I can do it. It's a little bit hard to do. Let me try. Oh, I spilled some on my jeans. Not as ambidextrous as I thought. Okay, here we go. Very slow legs for both of them. It seems like the legs are a little bit faster on the new Mac 12 versus the old. without a doubt. So much slower, much drizzlier. Okay, let's put those back in order. I think I've got a little bit more of the olds. Let me just check. Yeah, that's the right one. Okay, good. I'll do a color check as well, just to be sure. Because I did spill some. Yes. Now, I feel like we should start with the new Mac 12 because I've never reviewed this one. So it's kind of a re-review in a way. In fact, it is an absolute re-review of this bottling. Although remember, there are batch variances. And a completely new review of the new Mac 12 Sherry Oak Cask. So let's get started with that one. Okay, so the nose on the new Mac 12, let's check that out together. Make sure you pour yourself some, follow along, and leave a comment. Beautiful sherry, beautiful dried fruits. Some strawberry jam. Dried Thompson seedless raisins. A little bit of cinnamon, lots of vanilla here. A little bit candied. Maybe a little bit of candied orange rind in there. Spiced, some spices. I mentioned the cinnamon. There's also a little bit of clove. A little bit of nutmeg. Okay, let's get onto the palate then. Cheers. For 43%, this has a very potent flavor. It's also got a nice silky mouthfeel. So we saw the legs on this one. Even though they were faster than the old 12, in general, they were still very slow and well-defined. And you do get a nice oily, rich mouthfeel. The fruits are there. A little bit of white pepper. A raisin reduction with cinnamon and ginger. A good amount of ginger here. The strawberry jam is still in there. The finish is dry. It's drying. Also a very waxy. Kind of like a mouthful of candied orange rind. Along with kind of like a very dry sherry with good raisin and dried fruit flavors. Doubly good. Okay, another taste. It's really spicy in your mouth. Flavorful. Lots of good red fruits in there. We have vanilla throughout, which is nice. And the finish is, for flavor, it's short to medium. The dryness carries on quite a while. And there's nothing left as far as any sweetness in the finish. So I would call that a short to medium finish for this one. Okay, let's add some water there. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 drops. And now we'll move into the old Mac 12 Sherry. You can see right away it's a little bit brassier, a little bit more coppered in color. All right, the nose here. It's butterier. Kind of like that same strawberry jam, but more like, if it makes sense, a fresher French jam versus a generic American strawberry jam. Really almost like buttered toast, buttered white toast with strawberry jam on it. It's softer, it's gentler. It's a little bit more elegant. It's not quite as brash. We have that distinctive fresh bag of gummy worms that you just open, and you get that waft of the sweet flavors of the gummy worms. Personally, this is the nose I prefer among the two. There is darker raisins here. And I don't get any candied orange rind. All right, on to the palate. Cheers. It's like I've been kissed by angels. So rich, so flavorful. The spice is an undercurrent here. More nutmeg, not as much cinnamon, and very minimal ginger working here on the palate. The finish I'll get into right away since I'm trying this for the first time in about a year. The finish is medium to long. Some delicate dryness, some dryness that I like, alongside sweet, juicy raisins, and maybe like a cherry compote. This is so easy to love. And the price was fantastic in USA for these. I want to say that my friend bought this for like 60, 70 American. Something like that. Really long finish. Nutmeg. Those plump, juicy raisins. Now this is 3% stronger than my review of this way back 5 years ago. Please check that out. I'll put a link in the description below, okay? Okay, let's add a little bit of water here as well. The same amount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we need 7 because we had more volume. All right, now we'll get into the nose and palate with water for the new Macallan 12 Sherry Oak cask. And then we'll give it a WhiskyWhistle Whisky Score immediately following before we get into the older version, okay? Instantly more recognizable to me as Macallan. So the orange, candied orange rinds are gone here. And I've got the beautiful jam, and it's now, again, very much like that French, delicious French jam. What is it called? Bon Mama, I think. Not as buttery, not as silky, and I shouldn't say that S word. Not as elegant. It almost came out. I do apologize. I'm liking this more and more, though. Okay, the palate with water. Not much has changed. Again, an overall reduction in that sharp candied orange rind note. A reduction in the ginger, though the ginger is still there. It's still a little bit sharper, a little bit edgier. And the finish is identical, maybe even drier now with water. We've still got this white pepper throughout here. Of course, it's delicious. I do quite like this. I do feel there are some technical flaws that may come from any number of factors. Probably the largest of which is the wood issue. Now, Macallan has basically solved the wood issue by, they've got their own cooperage there, or they've partnered with one, I can't remember which it is, at a Spanish bodega. So that's secured them their beloved Spanish Sherry Oak casks, which are, I think, ideal for Macallan. All right, final taste here. For a shorter sip, it's fine, it's great, it's wonderful. But if you're a Scotch whiskey, a whiskey aficionado, and you enjoy really chewing that whiskey to get all the flavors out, you'll notice that it builds and builds in spice in that peppery note, which makes it slightly hotter. So that's what I'll say there. Anyway, on to the WhiskyWhistle Whisky Score for Macallan 12 Sherry Oak Cask, the new version. What is that going to be, folks? It's going to be 84 out of 100. You heard it, 84 out of 100 is the WhiskyWhistle Whisky Score for Macallan 12 Sherry Oak Cask. Now, in Canada, it's expensive. And I think there's better choices for sherry for 12 years old. For example, Glendronach 12 years old is a great whiskey for not much money. I think it sells for about $75 here in Manitoba plus tax, about $20 or $30 difference. But if you happen to be a Macallan fan, then you got to get that, because you got to try it, because you're a Macallan fan. I'm a Macallan fan. I had to get that, and I'm glad I did, and I am enjoying it. Okay, now on to the nose and palate with water for the old Macallan 12 sherry. Now, one other thing I notice about this is, again, it's hard to tell now because I have so much here. It's not quite as clear as the new one. So it's been chill filtered for sure, but maybe less so. I wonder. Okay, the nose. Oh, and just as I remember, the nose with water, you get that just gush of gummy worms coming right out of the glass. That beautiful Bon Maman strawberry jam. Not quite as buttery, but still delicious and smells so intoxicatingly gorgeous. All right, onto the palate. Rich mouth coating. It's definitely thicker. It's thicker than the new one. Juicier. We've got raisin, like a raisin, I don't know, raisin jam. Boiled reduced raisins in a dessert. We have fresh red fruits. We have dried red fruits. We have beautiful warm baking spices that are not hot but warming. The nutmeg and the cinnamon here. Minimal cinnamon, lots of nutmeg, virtually no ginger on the palate. The finish with water. A little bit spicier, not quite as long. I prefer the finish neat. But I think you can see where I'm going with this here. And a little bit more engaging for all senses with the old Mac 12 versus the new. And I'm sure that they will get it right. They've got a brand new distillery that they have to work with now. So we'll see, well, potentially completely different spirit about 10, 11 years from now. So that'll be a challenge for them to get the same rich, heavy, beautiful new make that does wonders with sherry casks. It'll take practice, I'm sure. Well, I have to say there's no comparison here. So let's get on to the WhiskyWhistle Whisky Score for the former Macallan 12-year-old sherry cask. What is that going to be, folks? It's going to be 90 out of 100. You heard it, 90 out of 100 is the WhiskyWhistle Whisky Score for Macallan 12 Sherry Oak, the old bottle. Whoops. Now, if you saw my original Macallan 12 review, which was 40% ABV, I think I gave that 87 points to my recollection. You get significant rewards in the American 43% version. So I think, boy, I have a feeling that if somebody were to try and buy as many of these as they can, either they'll have a wonderful collection to drink in the future, or perhaps as someone in the UK did, their son bought a house with a collection of Macallan 18s. So who knows, with a nice collection of Macallan 12s from yesteryear, maybe you can buy a car with that in USA. Who knows? Now, before we wrap this up, one thing I want to show you is this gorgeous glass that came from the local distributor, the local promoter of Macallan, from Jennifer Lee. So I'm going to do two things here. I'm going to put the new in there, and I'm going to put the old in there. And I want to show you this glass. It's got a nice weight to it. It's got the Easter Elke's house there on the front. If I've said that right, I hope. And then on the back, elegantly etched here, is the logo, the Macallan. Beautiful. Gorgeous glass, and really matches nicely with the new bottle. So that is some marketing pizzazz that will make this sell very well, along with the name Macallan, which flies out the door, right? All right, so both of these combined, what happens? Well, now you get the best of both worlds. You have the elegance, richness, and soft, wonderful fruitiness of the old, combined with the spicier, brasher, a little bit more energetic new Macallan 12. And I'll tell you, I think for sure this is going to sell really, really well in a bourbon market in USA. So they may have positioned Macallan very well for American drinkers. And I wonder what the 40% version is like. Someday I'll try that if I can. Beautiful stuff. Keep making that. Gorgeous, gorgeous spirit. Cheers, everybody. Thanks, Jennifer Lee. And goodbye, everybody. We'll see you for the next one. Make sure you click the little emblem here to subscribe to the channel. Check me out on Patreon, as I mentioned. Patreon.com/WhiskyWhistle. And if you happen to be in Winnipeg, join the Winnipeg Whiskey Club. We also have events that people who are not from Winnipeg can join, since we are basically online doing Zoom tastings, okay? Take care. Goodbye now.